We're going to talk about the visual quality module. So a couple slides up front, and then we're going to get right into the product presentation. But statement in front of you on the screen, I believe really strongly in when it comes to quality. That customers are the sole judge of product quality and service. Customers assess quality by comparing the products and the services that they receive with the products and services they expect. A customer can achieve a strong reputation for quality and service only when it consistently meets customer service expectations. And in all the years I've worked with companies, many companies, the companies that do well and succeed, this is very important to them and they understand this. That the customer is the judge of quality, not the company itself. To do a great job of quality management must involve employees, customers, and suppliers in order to be successful. And as you're going to see in just a minute, visual quality management helps a business ensure the quality of their goods and service by involving everyone in the business in an effort to satisfy the customers with quality workmanship and products. So on the screen, you'll see a breakdown of the visual quality product. It's broken into 5 broad groups: communication, document management, equipment, control, and administrative. We're going to touch on mostly the first 4 groups today, and we're not going to touch on everything. It's tough to do in a half hour to 45 minutes, but I'm going to give you a good overview of what visual quality is capable of. So this is the visual quality system. So you'll see here the different menus here. Not going to spend much time here. A little basic navigation here. There is security, so we can set security on what users can do. There's also automated email functionality that you can set up that can pull up task list on the screen or email employees with tasks based on user-defined workflow. Again, we'll skip those type of administrative things today. So let's take a look at the first set of modules here. There's 16 modules on that slide. You don't have to use everything on in the visual quality module. You might only use 1 or 2 features in your company. We have many companies that use 4 or 5 features like non-conformance and corrective action and maybe customer surveys, and we have other customers that might use all 16. So visual quality is very flexible in how it can be used. So let's talk about communication. Three sub-modules here. Involved is employee communications. We'll take a look at a couple of these here. I can't, again, touch on all of them. But, for example, the employee master here, this is where we set up employees. So we'll just pull up an employee, like we'll pull up Tony here. You'll see a lot of the information you would expect maybe in a payroll or human resources system. And in my experience, I've seen a lot of customers purchase a human resource system just to keep basic information. For example, you're going to see here the employee information, personal information, that type of stuff. Skills. What skills does this employee, what are they qualified for? This could be simple skills as simple as a basic company safety course all the way up to a manufacturer certification that we've sent the employee to, maybe a 4 or 5 day class. So we can set up those skills and we can track those skill levels to an employee here. You'll see that here. You'll see other information, job history, education, all those types of things, what degrees they support, maybe special certifications, quality certifications, and those types of things. All of that information can be maintained in the employee module. So along with the employee, you'll see courses and course schedules here. So for example, we could set up courses and schedules and maintain those in the system. I'll pull up a schedule here of maybe just a new hire schedule, maybe when we're going to have this class, maybe it's monthly, maybe it's weekly. And we can maintain all those skills and course schedules, and when an employee completes them, tie them to that employee record. You'll also see projects here. So if we want to set up projects, we can set up projects as well, in-house projects, maybe new project development, some type of ongoing quality upgrade or something along those lines. It could be an installation of a machine in the building, but we can set up projects there and manage those here as well. On the customer side, customer communication, a couple things I'll touch on here. Customer feedback. And customer feedback can come in many forms. A complaint, a suggestion, problem with a product of sorts. So for example, here's a sample customer feedback. So here you'll see the type of feedback, which is user-defined. This customer has a problem with their packaging. Apparently when they got the product, the package was broken. It wasn't strong enough to handle the product there. We can track acknowledgments, maybe assign that acknowledgment to somebody to contact the customer, discuss the issue with them. Eventually we can formulate a response and a follow-up if we like. We can even attach, for example, samples, what's wrong with the packaging, in this case, a box, and maybe where it's damaged and why, if the customer might email us a picture of something like that. So customer feedback we can maintain in the system and track it. We also might generate non-conformances from here. Maybe we've got a problem with a package and we want to generate an official non-conformance. We can do that as well here, and we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. Also on the customer menu here are audits. We're going to talk about audits several times here. Audits in visual quality are user-defined. So what I mean by that example, here is an example of an audit for a yearly customer survey. Most customers that have a good quality program, they're going to send out customer surveys to their customers. So here, Visual allows you to set up headings. You'll see two headings here. So under general questions, then I can define my questions. You'll see I have 5 questions there, along with what I want to set as lower and upper scores, 0 being poor and upper being 10, which is a top-notch score for each of these questions. So you'll see here on section 2 a whole different set of questions, and this can be much more complex than what you see here, or even simpler. From here, we can email those questionnaires or mail merge, whatever we want to do, send those questionnaires to our customers. We can record those responses. On the customer menu, there's a response, and then we can generate reports. So maybe I want to look at the results once I've entered all the feedback from the customer. I can generate an analysis of my audit here. So I'm going to come in here. This is going to generate a report. I'm going to tell it, I want basically everything. You could select a certain customer, sort it a certain way here, and generate an audit analysis. This is what a typical visual quality report looks like. It's crystal report, so it can be modified or tailored to your liking. All you need is a full copy of crystal reports. So you see here the questionnaire you just saw, and here's question 1 and the customers that responded right here with the results. So possible score and our result, all the way down to the last page, which gives us an overall result of the survey. So a good way to communicate with your customers to see where you might not be up to speed or meeting their expectations and where we can do something about it. We can also generate non-conformances from here if we want to. Maybe we have a weakness we spotted in the survey and we want to generate a non-conformance and eventually a corrective action. We can do that as well. On the last thing on the communications menu, and I'm not going to cover this because of time constraints, is supplier information, feedback, and audits, just as you saw with the customer they're only directed at the supplier. So we can get supplier feedback. We can also do supplier audits. We can audit our suppliers and score them ourselves and see what suppliers maybe don't meet expectations. So we're going to go ahead and move ahead to the documentation modules. Here, this is where we're going to maintain system documentation, product information, document processes, audits. PPAP is used widely in the automotive industry. It's production part approval process and advanced production quality planning. Those are really closely related. We'll touch on the last one here in just a minute. So let's take a look at system documentation. Here is where we can maintain our official documents. So I'll just pull up one so you can see it. Here, for example, is our quality manual. This is the current revision and those types of things, when it was issued, where it's stored. I also can do attachments here, so I can actually, here I've attached the manual itself, so I can actually see the manual here and open it up and look at the manual. We can check the manual out if we need to. We can update it. It maintains revision history, so we can see when the manual was changed and those types of things. Process documentation. This is where we can maintain processes, and processes can be anything that's involved in our company, from a simple process of how to enter an order, how a customer order flows through the system. So here's this process, and here's the model. These are user-defined steps. So documentation of how we take an order here. We can tie these to employees or job functions if we like. So we can narrow down who does that or what department does that. We can also attach documents to any of these steps as well. So this is a process just how everything goes through on a customer order. Another example could be, for example, how to build a product, a Chrome table, maybe with the steps. Not necessarily the same as an engineering master or routing. This is the steps that we go through, which could include documentation and those types of things. Or even how to do something in the computer. For example, how to enter an engineering master or a bill of material. So what steps are required there? So you'll see a step there. So for example, here I have a copy of the screen. This is a visual manufacturing screen of what an engineering master looks like. So I might attach that to the process itself. So you can see there we can get as detailed or as simple as we like here on these processes. And again, assign them to employees or departments here. We could involve customers in these processes or vendors if we need to. On the Audit Manager, this allows us to develop audits, and audits can be an audit of anything. Manufacturing process. In the case I'm going to show you here, it might be an audit of our human resources systems compliance. Not necessarily a manufacturing process, but a process that might be required, again, for ISO 9000 certification. So you'll see here the auditor, auditee groups. Here you're going to see checklist. So checklist here could be one checklist or many, but what are we going to go through to prove this audit? What are we going to audit? So here are the references. You may have questions. You will have questions. What does this checklist, what kind of questions need to be asked? And then observations, feedback. And you'll see here also we can generate nonconformance and corrective actions. So if we're auditing a process and we find something that's not up to speed, we can generate a nonconformance here if we like. It's not required, but we can. And that nonconformance, eventually, we might generate a corrective action to solve the issue. So that's just a quick look at Audits, it can do all your audits to handle ISO compliance, and any other type of audits you'd like to do as well. Also here, PPAP, and I'm not going to touch on this. This is very focused to the automotive industry. If you supply the automotive industry in any way, you're going to know what a PPAP is, or part production approval process. Advanced production and quality management, or quality production management. This is where we can set up a project, for example, here, maybe a new product launch or something like that, or a new product line here. And we can assign this to a person, eventually a group of people. We can involve customers and suppliers in the process. And then we can follow the steps of APQP, the process here. This is standard process that needs to be followed, and the different steps here. And then we can assign the steps along with due dates and keep track of how we're doing on this. That status indicator will change as tasks are approved. These tasks, as we assign them to people, as anything else I've showed you, can end up either being emailed to the responsible party, or they can appear in a task list, just a little pop-up on the screen that they activate the task, do their job, and then come back and indicate status, whether it's in process or complete. So if you're familiar with the advanced production quality process here, this should not be a surprise to you. It should look very familiar to you. So let's move on to a couple real important areas here. Equipment. And equipment involves two things in visual quality. Preventive maintenance for our machines and calibration for our devices. We'll touch on both of these for a minute. I'm going to pull up a piece of equipment. You'll see when I click the search button here, this is a list of all the equipment in my company. I'm going to grab this particular CNC machine right here. So you'll see the machine here, maybe the location. Only the fields, by the way, with the red stars are required. Other information you don't have to provide unless you want to. Here I can take a look at the machine where we bought it, warranty information, extended warranty dates, serial numbers, model numbers, those types of things. Most importantly here, I can track my preventive maintenance activities. So here, this machine has a monthly maintenance requirement. You'll see here, this is a requirement. It's done internally. We could also have a supplier, maybe a vendor that comes in and services this for us, maybe even a customer, possibly, if it's that important to the customer. Here we have the standard interval for service, and this can be in days or it can be in hours used. Days will simply calculate a calendar date. Hours used, you'll have to track usage of the machine. But you'll see here, this is every 30 days. Here we can link, for example, I have linked here the manual maybe of how to service this, so, you know, routine inspection. So right here online, we can see how this product, maybe our monthly maintenance that needs to be done. I'm going to close this here. Well, that will also generate or can generate work orders. So every 30 days, I'll see a work order for the maintenance of that machine. If you're using visual manufacturing, it will generate work orders in the scheduling module. So those PMs are taken into account when the scheduling is developed. So we don't have a machine being serviced and somebody's trying to work on a job. We'll take that into account there. You'll also see spare parts here. So if we have spare parts in stock for this particular machine, what are they? So if we want to maintain an inventory of commonly used repair parts, we can do that as well. So back to the equipment menu, you'll see there we can track usage. That's where we enter spare parts, and we can generate those preventive maintenance orders I talked about. On the calibration menu, this is where we keep track of our devices, measuring devices and those types of things. So here, I'll bring up a caliper. So here's a caliper. You can see the location where the caliper is. If you want to track that, what employee is responsible for maintaining this particular unit, the status, it's a active device, it's not discontinued or that type of thing, no longer in use. From here, we could specify the calibration information. How often does this device need to be calibrated? This can be based on a number of days or usage or both. So maybe once a year we're going to calibrate this caliper, but it could be based on a number of usages. Maybe we have a machine that every so many cycles we have to recalibrate it. We can set that as well, and your employees can track those cycles or the usage of that device, and then the system can suggest or report on what devices need to be calibrated, either based on the standard interval or the usage, and we'll produce a list of devices that need to be calibrated there. Recording the calibration, here an example, I'm just going to pull up that same device in a calibration record. So here on January 5th, this device was calibrated, it passed, here's your employee. And then these characteristics, these are, depending on the device can mean different things. I think of them like tolerances. You know, this calibration device has to measure within a certain tolerance. Maybe it's a 10,000th of an inch or something like that. So we can make sure those devices meet those standards that we've set. If not here, we can generate a nonconformance here. Maybe we don't have to do that, but if we want to generate a nonconformance here, we can do that to take care of that device and maybe track back to the root problem of what caused that device issue. And also enter comments and those types of stuff there. Move over to the control module. Some people might refer to this as SPC Plus, which involves a little more than standard statistical process control. Here, this involves inspection here. So if I bring up, for example, a list of incoming parts that need to be inspected, this is a queue here you'll see we've created. Each one of these represents a PO or a work order, subassembly, whatever it is, that needs to be inspected. Or maybe I've just inspected here. So you'll see here, you'll see the lot ID, which may not refer to a lot like you typically track lots. It's just a receiving lot at that point. The supplier, the product, the status of the lot. So you can see here the statuses can be set first article inspection, ready to inspect. Here I've completed the inspection. And then you'll see something over here that in visual that you can go as simple or as complex as you want, where you can set up inspection plans. Those inspection plans are really work instructions and things that need to be done to pass the item in inspection. So to give you an example, let's go back to documentation and look at products here. I'm going to pull up a part. This happens to be just, I believe, a piece of steel. I'm just searching for a part here. We're going to grab this piece of cold-rolled steel here. And under here, you'll see characteristics. And these characteristics are optional in visual quality. You can go as detailed as you like. So in this case, what I'm worried about here is the thickness of this particular piece of steel. It's 3/4 inch thick. I can set attributes here, standards. So what I've said is this piece of steel can be anywhere between, and that's actually entered wrong, so it'll be 0.73 up to 0.755. That would be my tolerances. So if I look at the limits here, you'll see that's my upper limit, just slightly over 3/4 of an inch down to slightly under. We don't have to use this feature. I just want to show you can set limits or tolerances. Now where this is used is in the inspection. When we inspect, if we've set up those characteristics, the QA person has to report those characteristics. So when I report it, if it's inside of those tolerances, it'll pass. If it's outside, it will fail. So you can set those up so the system will make that decision based on the information you've given it. So if I wanted to go ahead and inspect a particular piece here, I could go ahead and say, okay, let's go ahead and collect this. I'm not ready to inspect that one. Let's go ahead and inspect this one. And here, you'll see down here, here's the lot size. Here's my quantity accepted here. I actually already started this one. And from here, I can do data collection. I can set a sample size. That actually can be set up in advance. And then I can enter each sample size here. And if that attribute or that tolerance is required, I can enter that here. And this is where this will pass or fail. So once I enter that, that'll pass that. And if I need to, I can create a nonconformance here. If something fails, maybe we're out of tolerance, I want to create a nonconformance, I can do that from here. So this is just a quick look at how we would inspect this item and move it through the process here. Also on the control menu, nonconformances. This is where all of the nonconformances I talked about being created in other places will end up. I'll just bring one up so you can see it. So you'll see a nonconformance here. This nonconformance here was posted from receiving here. Actually, this is the one that was reposted from the customer feedback. You'll see the part wasn't cleaned properly. That was our result. From here, if we need to, we can generate a corrective action. Let's pull up a better example. Here's one that failed receiving because it was out of tolerance right here. And we can see that. Here's the purchase order, other information that was tracked. Here I can look at the characteristics. That's that tolerance I showed you. So you can see here this one is clearly, what I entered here is clearly out of the tolerance. It doesn't fit in those tolerances, so it was failed. I created a nonconformance here. So from here, a corrective action can be created. From here, we can do disposition. What do we do with this thing? Send it back to the vendor. Keep it, scrap it, whatever we can do here, we can manage the disposition of these and disposal and verification that all this process is done here. Along with this, we can, you'll see this button. This button's been on every screen I've talked about. Track quality cost, or the cost of maintaining quality. In this case here, I've entered here a nonconformance, 2 hours of time, $60 an hour. So this nonconformance here has cost me $120 at this point, plus any material I may lose or those types of things. So throughout all the modules I've shown you, we can track quality and we can report the cost of quality in the administrative module here if we need to. These are corrective actions. Corrective actions, again, we can enter here, or they can be created from nonconformances. Just because we created nonconformance doesn't necessarily mean we're going to create a corrective action, but we certainly can. So here, this is the corrective action for that part that needs to be done here. So maybe the part wasn't cleaned properly, so maybe we need to review or retrain our employees to make sure the product's cleaned properly, or investigate the chemicals we're using, the correct chemicals, or those types of things. Maybe the action is to find something better to clean the product with. So that's a quick look, a very high-level overview of the visual quality product. Visual quality is made to run standalone or integrated with other applications. It has an integration module which allows us to connect to other ERP systems with XML documents if we need to, and those documents are customizable. You can pick and choose what you want and what information in each table you want. So the answer is yes. Visual quality supports actually quite a few standards, ISO 9001, ISO 9004, automotive industry, TS 1649, and aerospace, AS 9000, 9100. There are a lot of other specifications as well, military quality assurance specifications, automotive, lean manufacturing, a list of about 25 different standards that visual quality supports.